Uh, you'll receive a code. Could you please send it in WhatsApp?
Okay, sir, just 1 minute.
Sir, it's 140 328.
Okay, today we'll show you how to create an application gateway. Okay, so if you try to search application gateway, it will be there. So there are four type of load balancers available in Azure. So we discussed about a load balancer. Now we are discussing about application gateway. Okay, and you know the difference between load balancer and application gateway. With the load balancer you can send traffic to the only few backends like virtual machine scale sets and containers only, and you don't have any mechanism to do path based routing, and you don't have any mechanism to implement firewall in it. Whereas into the application gateway, you can forward traffic to the any backend, and we can implement firewall as well, and we can do path based routing also in application gateway. This is the basic difference between load balancer and application gateway. Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So now this is where you can create this create on it. You need to choose subscription and you need to choose the respective load resource group and application gateway name. Okay, and then the region, which region you want to create, and the tire. There are two type of tires available. One is standard V2 and second one is WAF V2. Okay, standard V2 and WAF V2. Okay, so you can use standard is already deprecated and WAF is also deprecated. Version 2 is available. Standard version 2 or WAF version 2. So what is the difference between the standard version 2 and WAF version 2? I already told you about yesterday what is meant by WAF. WAF is nothing but web application firewall. If you want to implement firewall also in the application gateway, then you can choose version WAF 2. Okay, if you want to implement rest of the things except a firewall, then you can choose standard v2. Okay, so organizations they will use WAF v2. Got it? Standard v2 also you can use. There is not much difference, only web application firewall will be there. That's it. Okay, so I already explained this yesterday. If you want, I'll show you the diagram. You can see this firewall, web application firewall. Okay, so this web application firewall if you have, then we used to call it as WAF v2 kind of tire. Or I don't want to use this web application firewall, I want to use for remaining purpose, then you can use standard one. Okay, it's fine. And now enabling auto scaling. See, application gateway also comes with auto scaling. Like I may have multiple number of lists. As I told you before, you can use application gateway to host multiple websites, You can add multiple backends also. So with this, ultimately the load also increase on the application gateway, right? But it is not a virtual machine to go into that and to see how it is actually consuming and what data it is coming and all. So it's an a platform as a service kind of application. Okay. So in that scenario, still it is asking you want to scale this. Yes, you can scale it. So minimum how many instances I want to maintain, but you don't have access to log into these instances, but in the back end it will do that. Okay, maximum instance count how much, minimum on instance count how much, based on that it will go that. No, I don't want to enable auto scaling. Okay, so I want to maintain the fixed size. Yes, you can maintain the fixed size of instances as well, although you don't have access to these two instances. Okay, you just specify how many instances you want to maintain. And then zones also, you can specify how many zones you want to keep this application gateway. You can specify that. And HTTP2. So currently whatever the HTTP you're seeing, right, this is in previous it is version 1. Now there is new HTTP came into the picture, that is HTTP2. If you want you can enable it. Many of the browsers still not supporting HTTP version 2. If you want to enable, you can enable it. And then WAF policy. So because here I choose web application firewall. So in the firewall, you need to specify a policy to whom I need to allow, to whom I need to deny. So all the details I need to specify in a policy. That policy you need to add it under WAF policy. So if you select as a standard v2, so there is no WAF policy if you observe here. Okay, so if you want to use web application firewall, yes, regarding that firewall it is asking me what is the policy you want to. I don't have any policies right now. If you want, you can create a policy. Okay, so later you can edit it. If you want, you can add bot protection also, like if some bots are trying to hit your websites, if you want to see whether those bots are valid bots or any problematic or it's kind of an attack, then it will identify and it will block it. It has by default rules. So if you click on OK, the policy will be created and later you can go and edit that policy. Okay, and now IP address type. So for now we'll use IPv4 only. So as I told you before, right, IPv6 is bit still, it's still in process. So you can use normal IPv4 address only. That's fine. And configure virtual network. So to host this application gateway, this VNet is mandatory. Okay, so you need to select which VNet I want to keep this application gateway. For this application gateway, you must need a dedicated subnet. That subnet I am giving here. Okay, and then front door. So now you have given the basic details like which resource group I want to keep, what is the name, which region I want to keep, what kind of application gateway you require, do you require auto scaling or not, how many instances I need to maintain, what about availability zone, or HTTP you want me enable or disable, WAF policy, what kind of web application firewall policy you are using, you have existing policy or not, you are creating new one, which IP address I want to assign, which VNet I want to use for this application gateway. Please remember that whatever the subnet you are using, right, it is specifically designed for this application gateway. Not specific, it's not different actually. You need to create a subnet, but nowhere you can use the subnet. Specifically, you need to use the subnet for application gateway only. For that, you need to create one dedicated subnet and you can use it. Okay. For subnet, if you see, you can see subnet must only have application gateway. This subnet having virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2 we have created, right? Okay, so that is the reason for this application gateway you need to give a dedicated subnet. We don't have any other resources inside the subnet. We have never used the subnet before. The fresh subnet it requires. And then front ends. Now coming to the main topic. Okay. Front end means which receives the traffic. Okay. Which receives the traffic. It will receive the traffic. So it will ask you which IP address you want me to add to receive the traffic. You want to use public IP so that from the internet you can access it, or you want to use private IP, so internal purpose you can utilize it, or you want to add both. If you add both, for few of the listeners I can use front end IP, public IP. For few of the listeners I can use private IP. Okay, so many of the organizations they will use both. They will use both, or they will use private. Anything is fine. Okay, as I said, both like public and private. So I need to choose the respective IP address. So if I click on here, I will see already available IP address, but unfortunately this cannot be associated. These are there but cannot be associated because these are using it somewhere. Now I need to add a new IP address. Okay, and private IP address also. So which private IP address I want to give? Okay, so this subnet I have given, right? Under this subnet only I need to assign one IP. 10.0.0 3 digits are constant, last digit will vary. So I need to give this IP address as 10.0.0.0.05. Okay, last digits will vary. I can give any number 5 or 6 or anything, or 253 up to 254 you can give it, right? So you can give any IP address. It's called private IP. You need to assign from the dedicated subnet. And then front end is completed. Now the back end. For now you can add a single backend pool. We can add it later also. Okay, so I'm adding pool 1. Okay, here it is asking you add backend pool without targets. Means inside the backend pool you must have some things, right, like VM1 or VM2 or VM3. So now you have created a backend pool and it is asking you want to go ahead without the targets inside it. Okay, later if you want you can add it in the portal itself, but for now while creating, if you want to ignore, you can ignore it by clicking yes. No, I want to add target also. Yes, you can add it. Backend targets, you can see the backend targets, you can add it here. The target type, if you have a virtual machine, you can give the virtual machine name. If you select a virtual machine, it will show you the available virtual machines already. Okay, at the moment I have two virtual machines, right? It is showing the available virtual machines also. So no, if you want to choose VMSS, it will show you if there is an available. No, if you have an app service, it will show you the available app services. No, I don't have any all this stuff. I have a storage account, I have something. Then you can specify that IP address here directly. Whatever the IP you want to give, you can give that IP address as a backend. You got it? So this way you can add anything as a backend. Okay, this option is
Yes, sir.
not there in the load balancer. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So for now I'll add one virtual machine. Okay, that's fine. Or else you can add without, you can proceed without also. You can add it later. Let it be, I'll adding one virtual machine and then add it. Okay, I have a backend pool. Inside the backend pool I have certain targets now. Okay, now coming to the configuration. So if you observe this scenario, what is the front end? The front end have two IPs. One is public IP, one is private IP. And The backend has one backend, that is called pool 1 is a backend pool. Now it is asking me routing rules. So, routing rule, when I need to receive the traffic on which IP and when I need to send the traffic to the backend pool. That things you need to define under the routing rules. Okay, you need to define one routing rule here. So without routing rule, it won't accept to go further. Okay, so routing rule you need to create it. Yes, click on add routing rule. Yes, here the routing rule name you can specify anything. So let's say for I am routing the traffic to the respective backend, right? So VM2 I need to send, let it be VM2, and the priority is must. Let's say you have multiple backends, so which backend I need to send the first. Okay, that priority you can define it. Okay, so let's say I want to give this as a priority 1. First request it will goes to VM-2. If you specify the rules, then it's fine, but still it will takes the priority as 1. Okay, if you specify it, if you want, you can specify as 4, and some other rules you can give as a 3, 4, it's up to you, or 400 or 100, it's up to you. Okay, the first number will be acted as a first priority. And then come into the next one. For this routing rule, you must have one listener. So which listener I want to use this routing rule? Okay, you need to first configure the listener configuration. The first one is listener configuration. So first I have test.local listener. Okay, or the first one is www.com listener. Okay, it is not allowing me to space. Fine. So I want to use this flipkart.com listener. Now, what is the front end IP for this listener? So which front end IP I want to use to receive traffic on this listener? So I want to use front end IP as public IP. Okay, if you hit the public IP, then it will receive the traffic on this flipkart.com. Then we need to send this traffic to the backend. So now this is about front end IP and protocol. Which protocol I want to receive the traffic on? Like if you want to receive traffic on HTTPS, yes, you can select HTTPS. For this HTTPS, you need to select an SSL certificate. Okay, for HTTP you don't require an SSL certificate because the last S stands for SSL. It means secured traffic. For this secured traffic we need to take one certificate from the certificate provider. Okay, what will happen with the HTTPS? If you see the locked symbol here, locked symbol here. So basically what I told you, in the browser, if you hit any URL, this HTTP is a transport protocol. It's a bus where it will take you to the destination. Okay, so by using this bus, it will take you to this destination portal.azure.com. So while sending or while traveling in the internet, it is very important. It is much important to secure the traffic, right? Otherwise, somebody will come and somebody will hack your bus and will store your data. Okay, so that is the reason you need to secure it. How you can secure it? With the help of SSL certificate. What is meant by this SSL certificate? This, if you purchase an SSL certificate for a dedicated domain, what they will do, they will give you two things. One is public key and second one is private key. What is meant by this public key and private key? So whenever you are sending a traffic, right, it is encrypted with private key. It is encrypted with private key. That private key is with you only. If you have that private key, then only you can decrypt it. Okay, you can lock it and you can encrypt it and you can send it. Now if anybody try to access it, it won't be opened it because it's locked, it's encrypted. So then it will go to the server. That server has a public key. With that public key, it will decrypt it and it will send that information, and again it will add that response, and again it will encrypt it and it will send back to us. And here we have the public key again. With the public key, we can decrypt and we can see the information. So with the encryption and decryption mechanism, you have to protect your traffic while sending into the internet. Okay, that's the reason we need to use HTTPS with secured SSL certificate. So if you click on this lock symbol, you'll see this connection is secure. You can see the certificate here. This is called certificate, and this certificate is given to portal.azure.com website, and who is the owner of this website and how many days it is validated. Okay, and who issued by the Microsoft itself, and there are many providers, OpenSSL, DigiCert, GeoTrust. There are many providers will be there. They will provide the SSL certificates. Okay, now if you choose if you choose HTTP as a transport mechanism for the incoming traffic, the port number is 80. If it is HTTPS, the port number is 443. Okay, so it will receive traffic on this specific 443, and here you need to update your certificate. If you have a certificate with you, the provider give you one certificate, you can directly upload that certificate here itself, or you can store it in a key vault and you can upload it from there also. So as of now, key vault we haven't discussed, we will discuss it. For now, you can choose manual upload. Here if you click on it, so it will ask you for the location and select your certificate and upload it. Okay, so and for that certificate, if you have any password, you can add that password here. Okay, so this is the real-time scenario where you need to do for any listener. If you want to update or if you want to renew an SSL certificate, so this way you need to do. You have to go to the respective listener, and there if you select the respective protocol, this protocol is already added. Okay, so you will see like this. You have to create a new certificate name and you have to update it. Okay, for now I don't have an SSL certificate. I'll keep it as 80 only, let it be. And the listener type, if it is a single listener, then it could be a basic, or if it is a multi-site listener, then it could be multi-site. What is meant by this basic and what is meant by this multi-site? So if you go here it is listening traffic on www.ft.com and www.xyz.com and rt.com. These three are different websites, right? These three are different websites. Now there are some scenarios. If I want to access the same backend with two website names, in that scenario you need to use multi-sites. So what is the difference? I will show you here. So now if you go here, www.facebook.com. If you see, if you click on here, it is taking me to the Facebook, right? Now www.fb.com. fb.com. This is facebook.com. This is fb.com. If you click on here, it will also take me to the Facebook. Okay, that means if you want to listen traffic on multiple sites related to the single backend, in that scenario you need to use the multi-site. Means if I receive traffic on www.fb.com, yes, you can send traffic to the same backends. Or else if you receive traffic on www.facebook.com, yes, you can send traffic onto the same backend. So if you want to listen traffic on multiple websites with same backend, then you can use multi-site. Okay, if you want to use a single, yes, you can use single website, that is called www.flipkart.com. No, I want to listen on www.fp.com also for the same yes, then you can use multi-site. So you need to add that multi-site websites. Again, in the multi-site also, if you want to use a single host name, you can use called www dot. Okay, no, single is not enough. I want to use multiple only. Yes, you can select multiple. It will ask you the host names. First one is www dot flipkart.com, and second is www dot fb.com. Okay, means if you receive traffic on www.flipkart.com, yes, you can receive it and you can send it to the same backend. If you receive traffic on www.fp.com, this is also same one. So that is why I'm adding here. You can also send it to the same backend. Okay, likewise for a single company, if you have a multiple websites, you want to host it, and all those are redirecting to the single backend, then you have to use this multi-site. Or else you can use single only. I want to host it for this one, for this dedicated listener. Yes, that's fine. Okay, and now the custom error pages. So basically every website, like the application gateway you are hosting, so if something is happened to this application gateway, if something is happened to this application gateway, when the user hits it, when the user hits a traffic, basically the initial response must be comes to the application gateway, and the application gateway forward this traffic to the respective backends. But in this scenario, if application gateway is unable to receive the request and it is having some issue, then what kind of error I want to send back to the user, whoever browsing the website? So that error responses you need to configure here. Okay, so you need to specify a URL, what kind of URL I need to give a response if something is happened. If it is for 502 error, what kind of error I need to show. If it is 403, what kind of error I need to show. So these are error codes. These are error codes. So okay. So what is meant by this error code? What is meant by this 502? What is meant by this 403? So if you observe anything here, mm, okay, this is a custom thing, but the error response you are getting is 404 only here. So where you can see that. Mm, mhm. Uh, if you click on any website, you can see that, man. Uh, online SBI 123.html. And nowadays everybody is maintaining their custom pages, custom error pages. The similar way it is asking here, right? The custom error page. That's why you're seeing this custom error pages. But some, so if you click on here, if you want to see the response code, you come to the more tools, you come to the developer tools. If you enable this developer tools, and then if you go to the network, click on network. If you go to the network, and if I try to refresh this page, you can see how this page is behaved. You can see that response here. You can see, you can see you have hit 123.html. The response you received is 404. This is the IP address you went this traffic to. Okay, and this is the domain you requested. The status code you received is 404. That means not found. Whatever the page you are trying to hit, right, 123.html, this is not found, it is saying. Okay, so this not found will be get it by using this error code. So why this error codes are implemented, the status codes are implemented because it's a very important concept actually. Okay, what is meant by this as HTTP status codes? Okay, so if you observe all the traffic we are sending via this HTTP, right? HTTP or HTTPS. So you are sending this traffic, all the traffic via this HTTPS. So while sending this traffic, if you want to access anything, if something is happened, if something is happened, like you can see here, this was rejected or something, some XYZ or something. So unfortunately, the page you are looking for has been moved or deleted. So anything. If you access anything from HTTPS, if something is happened, there might be an error. Correct? If you access it, if something is happened, then you will receive one error. Basically, if you are not categorize that errors, then the errors looks like it could be any n number of errors, right? It could be any error. We don't know what kind of error you will get. It could be any kind of error. So, okay. So instead of receiving any kind of error, let's categorize that error. Let's categorize that error. What kind of errors? So they categorized the errors with 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So they categorized errors as 5 types. Okay. First one is the error code with 100 means 100 to 199, 200 to 299, 300 to 399, 400 to 499, 500 to 599. Okay, so if the status codes are with 100, then we used to consider that error code as information error. So means if you receive any error with status code 100, it's absolutely fine because it is showing an information. That's it. It is showing an information. You don't need to worry about it. And next, if it is 200 kind of error, it's okay. It's okay error means success or it means success. Okay, all the success transactions will report an error code of 200. So if it is 200, that means it's a success one. So you no need to worry about it. And the next one is 300. So 300 is nothing but redirect error code. So 300 means if any website is redirected from to another website, then you will receive an error code of 300 means the website is redirected. Okay. Again, sorry. Again, if it is a redirect error code, you don't need to worry about it because it is redirected to somewhere else. Okay. And then if you receive an error code of 400, that means it is an issue with client. Client means whoever sending the traffic. whoever sending the traffic. So that is issue with our side. Issue with our side, the clients, whoever sending the traffic, right? So the issue with their side. If it is 500, the issue is with server side. Okay, the issue is with server side. Now tell me, you hit one URL, it's 123.html. So if you open the developer tools, more tools and developer tools, or you can access it with F12 also. Okay, now if I hit this page, what is the response code I am getting for this 123.html? This is what the page I have written, 123.html. This is getting 403. So what 404? These are 400 kind of errors. So what is meant by these 400 kind of errors? 400 kind of errors are with clients, means our side. So there is issue from our side. Okay, so you have hit it wrong URL. Okay, please check from your side whatever the URL you have hit. Okay, so we need to correct it accordingly. We need to correct it accordingly because it is saying that issue is with your side. Please send the correct URL. Okay, because it is saying 404 means not found, means whatever you are looking, this is not found. So please correct it. Please provide valid one so that I will give you the 200 response. 200 means success or okay. 200 means success or okay. You got it? So this way you can see the response which I am getting. It's okay, or is there any issue from my side, or is there an issue from server side? If it is issue from your side, you can correct it, or if it is an issue from server side, we don't do anything. We need to provide the snapshot, or we need to raise a ticket to the server team with the error you are getting. Then the server team will fix it. Got it? Why these HTTP status codes are categorized? If you are not categorized this one, then if you are not categorized this 400, then if you receive an error, this for this not found also you need to report to the server only. Server team say that we don't have an issue, man. You are reading the wrong URL. You can do it. You can correct it. So there are many blames, or there is multiple things need to be involved if you are not categorized this error codes. Correct or not? You understood about this error status codes?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Now that's about status code. If it is 500, what is meant by this 500? 500 means this is an issue with server side.
Server.
So if an application gateway having any issue with the server side, for this application gateway, who is the server? Whoever the sending the response back, right? This is the server for this application gateway, because now this application gateway is client and it is sending the request, and this particular server is receiving the request, right? So if the respect to backend or respect to servers having an issue, then the application gateway will throw you 500 error. Means I don't have any issue, there is an issue from the server. Okay, that's about 502. It's a gateway, means the respect to backend or the respect to server having an issue, then it will show you 502. Okay, how you can fix this 502? So if we go here, when I will receive the 502, if some backend is unhealthy, some backend having an issue and it is throwing 500, then this application gateway also throw the same 502 to the respective client. Now what you need to do, first you need to check the health check, whether the health check page is working fine or not. If the health check page is not working, then it will consider that the backend is not healthy. Then it will sense that it's an issue with the backend. So I don't transfer the request to the, I don't want to transfer the request to the backend. So that's why I'm sending a response code called 502. It's a bad gateway. That means the backend is not healthy. So if you receive 502 error code, the first step you need to do is you need to come to the listener, which listener having face, and you need to see what is the backend pool associated to it, and you need to see the health check. If the health check is okay, then it won't give you 502. If the health check is not okay, it will give you 502. Then you need to log into that particular place and you need to check the default health check page, why it is not working. And accordingly, you need to fix it. Once it is fixed on the server, then health check will work. Once health check will work, then application gateway will forward the traffic to the respective backend. Okay, so that is the error codes for this 502. So if this 502, there is a dedicated page you designed for this 502, you need to add it here. Similarly for this State Bank of India, right, if you click on 123.html, we must receive an error code called 404, but you can see it is showing the custom page. The error page also provided by the State Bank of India, and they have written something and they are clearly saying that please consult with your administrator or something. So this is the custom page. So that custom page you need to add it here. Okay, there are many codes like for 500 or 503 or 403. So you need to add the respective URLs, custom pages. If you want to, you can add it them, or else. Next, listener configuration is done. So for this listener, www.flipkart.com, what are the backends? So if I receive traffic on flipkart.com, I have multiple backends. On which backend I need to send this traffic to? That you need to define under the backend targets associated to the listener itself. Okay, so now come to the backend targets here. The target type is backend pool or redirection. That means whatever the target the backend, right? I received request to the www.flipkart.com. Now you want me send this traffic to the backend, or you want me to route or redirect this URL to some other domain, then you can use redirect option. No, I don't want to redirect to anywhere. I want to send it to the my backend pool one. Yes, you can do it here by selecting the backend pool. If you click on redirect, it will ask you the you want to redirect to another listener or some external site. If you can give external site called www.google.com. It's up to you. So whatever the traffic received to this www.flipkart.com, it will send it to the google.com. Okay, this way the redirection will work. No, I have configured multiple backend, so multiple listeners. If I receive traffic to www.flipkart.com, then I need to send it to the www.xyz.com listener. Yes, you can send it by using listener. It will show you the available listeners, so it can route traffic from one listener to another listener also. I want to go to the backend pool. Yes, you can choose the backend pool. If you, it will show you the available backend pools. At the moment I have backend pool 1, so this is the backend pool. So now in the backend pool I must have defined one backend settings to connect to the backend pool. Correct. So if you want to, you have a backend pool, but to access this backend pool you must have one backend settings. That backend settings you need to configure here. Click on add new. See, this is the backend setting. First one is backend okay. I don't think space is allowed here. Okay, backend settings. So what is the backend protocol? Means from here to here, from here to here, which protocol I need to use, which protocol I need to use, which port I need to use. This is asking about HTTP or HTTPS. If you still use, if you want to secure that traffic also, you can use HTTPS. It's fine. I can use HTTP, then it's up to you, because this is hosted in your environment only. Application gateway also in your environment, or your backend also in your environment. So if you want to, although it's your environment, still you want to secure it, yes, you can use HTTPS. If you click on HTTPS, backend port is 443, and for this backend server certificate is issued by the well-known CA. Yes. If you have a Microsoft or Azure backends, you can click on S, so that you don't need to provide SSL certificate. It will be taken by the Azure itself, because for every resource you created in Azure, the domain name is .windows.corenet .azure.net. So that is provided by the Azure itself, right? Azure domain set. It will take care the SSL certificate for that Azure. Okay. No, if you have a other things you want to route the traffic to, for other things you need to add an SSL certificate here. That's it. Okay, so these are the additional stuff, so not required. And the request timeout. So if the request is not receiving based on the 20 seconds, then it will be considered as some issue. Okay. Next, override backend path. This I will cover later. Coming to the host name. So to establish a connection to the respective backend, you need to contact it via particular domain. You need to access it via particular URL, right? Otherwise the connection will not be established. That URL you need to add it here. If you want to add a dedicated URL, yes, you can add a dedicated URL here for the respective backend. Like I have created test.local/test.html. This is the page, right? I have created on the server. So it will try to hit that page. If it is fine, then it will consider that okay. So backend is connected. Okay. No. You want to use pick host from backend target? Yes, it will use the host name for backend target. What is meant by the host name for the backend target? So if you create any resource, it has one URL generated, right? So based on the backend you have added, it will take that name. If you create anything like storage accounts or anything you created, right? So storage I have deleted, kept it. I don't have. You can take VM only, fine issue. If you take only virtual machine, there is a default name or host name provided for this VM. The VM name you can consider here. It's VM1. Okay, with full name you will get it. The full name you can get it. So for now it is VM only, VM1. So with Azure provided, it will give you one URL. So that URL I already showed you. Here it will come actually for the VMs anyway you have created. That's the reason it won't take other things. It's computer name, it is taking VM1 only, then it's fine. It's fine. So it will take the name as VM1 only and it will try to access it. But if it is a storage account, you have the endpoints configured, right? For app service, you have a dedicated domain. So that domains it will pick automatically. Okay. Or else, no, I have a dedicated URL. You want to access the backend with the dedicated URL only, then you can provide that URL here. Okay. This is all about health probe. You want to create health probe also? Yes, you can create the health probe as well. Got it? So this way you can add one routing rule. In this routing rule, I have configured which listener I want to receive traffic to, where I need to send it, Okay, what are the targets added inside it, and what is the routing rule? I have added it. Okay, and click on tags and just create it. That's it. Any doubts here while creating an application gateway?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. Why this validation? I don't. Okay, not issue with here. It's an issue with the subscription. If it is an issue, it won't give the tick marks like this. I'm pretty sure this is with subscription. I think free tier subscription won't allow WAF. Subscription has a quota of 3 for resource of the public IP address with SQU standard. Currently has 3 resources and the template contains 1 resource of this type exceeds the quota. Okay. Public IP address quota is exceeded. Okay. I'll do one thing. The load balancer I can delete. It is not required, right? Then one IP address will be released. Public IP address. You can see the IP address. I think this is assigned for the load balancer. I deleted the load balancer and I deleted the public IP as well. Now I have 2 public IP addresses only. Okay, it's deleted now. Now if I go and if I validate it again, done. Okay, next click on create. Understood about the configuration part. While creating, what are the minimum things you required to create an application gateway?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you must have public IP, you must have private IP, you must have VNet, you must have subnet, you must have one listener name, you must have the one backend setting, you must have one pool, you must define one routing rule. So yeah, so I think uh, at least one resource deployment. Please list the no. Mm, the backend settings is not valid. Please make sure host does not end with a period and does not contain any protocol or path information. Acha. Okay. The backend settings is an issue. Host is specified probe is having. So we have. I'll delete it. I'll show you the issue what we did. While creating the application gateway, I have defined test.local/test HTML, right? That is the issue. I will create it, no issue. EZW and same WAF if you want you can take it, no, and you can select one zone anyway, it's fine. WAF policy I want to use this one. VNet I will choose. Subnet is default one. Front ends both for now you can take. Public IP is available one. 10.0.0.5 you can take. Backends I need to add one backend pool one, and if you want to define you can define the targets as well. Add it. Next configuration in the front end, and then routing rules. And here routing rule name priority you need to define. The listener I need to define flipboard.com front end IP. For now you can take public. Multi-site, here the host name is flipboard.com. This is a bad gateway. Fine. Need to add the backend targets. Okay, backend pool one. Backend targets, I don't have anything, so I'm creating one backend setting. uh, Here this is the issue. If I click on yes, it is asking override with specific domain name, right? This host name I need to give it. I need to, if you see this is saying that candiso.com only, so I need to define in this format. I need to provide the host name, not path. Okay, I'm sorry, my bad. Host name, backend host name is this one I am using to access the servers, so I have given this host name. And now if you click on add it, click on add, now tags, now create. It is asking only host name, right? The host name is portal.azure.com only. This is called host name, and this is called path. It's called host name is portal.azure.com. This is called host name, a fully qualified domain name. That path will configure in health probe, right? Not in the backend settings. It's my bad. So any doubts you have while creating the application gateway?
No, sir.
So you're good, right? Still taking time to create. Let it be. Meanwhile, I'll prepare this app service. Why it is taking this much time, man? Okay, so this application gateway looks like this. It still seems it is still creating. Okay, so this application gateway is looks like this. Again, overview where you can see all the basic details. Perfect, succeeded. So this application gateway having the basic settings like overview, the same, and activity logs where you can see who have performed any actions over there. Then access control if you want to provide any access, tags and diagnose and solve problems if you have any issues. And coming to the main, it's a configuration part. Okay, so at the moment we are choosing WAF version 2. If it is a standard, you can choose it here, but please remember, don't change the tier once it is created. Before creation only, you need to choose whether I want to go for web application firewall enabled or a standard one. You need to choose before only. Okay, and then you can do it later on. The capacity you can do it anytime. Like if you want to auto scale, you can auto scale it. If you want to manual, you can keep instance count. It's not a big deal. Okay, if application gateway is taking much time or much CPU, much RAM, then you can increase the count as well from here. Okay, or if you want to set it to the auto scale, it's not a big deal. And if you want to enable the TP2 or disable, you can do it any point of time. You don't have any issue. Okay, now if you we are the WAF2 enabled, WAF version 2 enabled, that's why it is showing the web application firewall. If you see, this is the policy we have created. So if you click on this, it will take you to the web application firewall policy, or else you can take, if you can select for web application firewall policies, you can see WAP policy. This is a separate resource. Okay, if you click on this, or if you click on this, it will take you to the direct web application firewall policy itself. This is the policy. So again, in this policy, there are the policy settings. Okay, and the managed rules, the rules you need to add it here. By defaultly certain rules are added, that is malicious bots are blocked. Okay, there are already some predefined rules by the Microsoft. If it feels that something related to hit this, then it could be an issue. That's why by defaultly it is adding some rules by the web application firewall policy itself. These rules we used to call it as OWASP rules. In previous it is version 3.0, now it is 3.2. So they already added some predefined rules here. No, I don't want to use predefined rules, or I want to use my rules along with predefined rules. You can come to the custom rules. Here you can add your custom rule. The custom rule name, rule number 1, sorry, rule name, right? Custom rule name, and here I am to enable this rule. Here the rule type, match. Priority you can give as anything. Here the condition. So if the IP address contains or does not contain the specific one, then you want to allow the traffic or you want to deny the traffic. Okay, let's say I am writing one condition. If the IP address is, if request coming from IP 100.10.10, sorry, 100.100.100.100, then you can block it. This is the requirement. If the IP address is 100.100.100.100, then you can block it. This how you can implement in the firewall. Come here, add a custom rule. Okay, block request from IP. Okay, just add your rule. Okay, it is not allowing underscores also. Okay, rule to block IP. Okay, and now I want to enable this rule. I want to add the priority, and if the IP address, if the IP address does not contain or does contain or does not contain. So IP address contain 100.100.100.100. If IP address contains 100.100.100, then I can deny the traffic. Simple. It's a block. If you enable it, you can see it. If the IP address matches to this one, then you can deny the traffic. So this way you can add a custom rule in the web application firewall. You got it? So likewise, you can define any number of rules and you can define the priority also. If you define the priority, so first this rule will be executed and the second priority rule will be executed and third priority rule will be executed. Clear?
Yes, sir.
This way you can create a web application firewall policy and you can associate this with application gateway. If you want, you can assign this to the entire application gateway. This is also I explained you. If you want, you can assign it to the entire application gateway, or you can assign this particular web application firewall policy for dedicated listener also. That you can do it here. You come to here, add association. Here it is asking you want to associate this rule for entire application gateway or a specific listener. Root path we will not do it. So specific listener. So click on HTTP listener. It will show you what are the available listeners. Select the application gateway. In the application gateway, we have only single listener, right? That is what it is showing. If you have a multiple listeners, it will show. It will ask you to select. If you click on like this check marks, if you have 4 listeners, if you click on 4 check marks, if you click on add, then this particular rule will be added to that particular listener only. Got it?
Yes, sir.
But make sure that either you can use application gateway or you can use listener only. Don't use both. Not required, right? Because you are associated to the application gateway means entire application gateway this rule is applicable. There is no meaning, right? You need to assign this particular this to specific listener only, right? Anyway, this is already assigned to the entire application gateway. Okay, so if you want to add to the specific listener only, remove this entire application gateway, only add that specific listener. Right? If you add entire application gateway, that listener is already covered. Okay, that's it. That's it about web application firewall policy. And now come to the application gateway. Okay, and one more thing I forgot to show you. So if you choose application gateway, web application firewall enabled in your real-time environment, these custom rules are fine because you only created it. Some managed rules are already there, predefined rules are already there. If the developers thinks that fail to parse request body, okay, whatever the already predefined rule is there, right? We required this. We required this. Okay, we don't want to block the request based on this rule. If we required this, then you come to here, select this. If you want, you can enable it. If you want, you can disable it. By default, Azure is offering these rules. If you want to enable it, you can enable it. If you want to disable it, you can disable it. Clear? The developers will say you this 2000 23402 or 2000403 or 911 which rule they want to block, they will tell you. You come to this and you select that particular one, you can enable it or you can disable it. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now again the backend pools. If you want, you can add any backend pool here. Pool 2. Yes, backend, sorry, add backend pool. My backend pool I am going to add now as an app service. I have an app service added. Okay, now I have one more backend pool with one app service. Okay, but in load balancer, either you have to use the same ones. But here you can see I have added app service also as a backend. Okay, takes bit time, but it will. So now I have a backend pool with target, but I have not created the rules for this backend. Right? That's why it is showing 0. Okay, it's done now. Now you can see the backend health also from here, that I will show you later. So I have added the backend pools like this, and now the backend settings related to the another backend pool I need to create, right? So I need to create a backend setting 2, and I need to select the port, this one, this one, this one. I need to add pick host from backend for now. If I select pick host from backend target, right? The backend target already having host name called this one, right? It will pick automatically this host name. This is what I'm trying to show. So automatically it will pick it. Click on save. So now I have one backend setting available. This backend setting I need to add it to the assign it to the one backend pool. Okay, where I can add it, I have add it in rules. Okay, once it comes to the rules I will discuss it. So I have one more backend setting created, and now the front end IP configuration, I have two front end IPs. One is public one and second one is private one. It will show you the IP address as well. If you want to enable a private endpoint, yes, you can enable it via private link itself. If you have to add the SSL ones, that SSL profile also you can add it here itself, not going from the key vault or not directly assigning. You can add the certificates here itself, store the certificates here itself. And then listeners, I have one listener at the moment. If you want to add one more listener, you can add one more listener called test.local. Which IP I need to listen it on? I want to listen it on private IP, or I want to listen it on private IP. It's up to you. Okay. So if I select HTTP public, yes, it is asking which port I want to listen on. If you select private, what it is saying, you can see when using the same port for public and private listeners, you may need to update the inbound rule in a network security group to use the application gateway subnet. Yes, I will update it. It's fine, no issue. Fine. I will use public only. Let it be. and listener type is multi-site listener. I want to give the name as test.local only. Fine, that's it. Add it. So I have added one listener. So I have added one more listener here. The host name is test.local and here the host name is www.flipkart.com. And now coming to the rule. So at the moment I have one rule. It is associated to this particular listener. And now I will add one more rule. That is rule 2. Priority is 200. I need to select the listener. You can see although you have two listeners, it is only showing one listener because that listener is already assigned some rule. So it is not allowing us to add one more rule for that listener. So the free listener is this one only. So I am selecting that free listener and coming to the backend targets. Which backend pool I need to send the traffic received to this listener pool to. Okay, which backend settings I need to use. I have already two backend settings available. This already used for listener 1. This I am using for listener 2. Okay, if you want to enable path based routing, yes, you can enable path based routing here itself. Okay, later also you can add it, no issue. Path based run. Let's say I have images. If it contains images, star means anything. Then I need to send it to the respective backend. Which backend I want to send it and what is the pool it has. Okay, so that if the request contains images, then it will send that request to the this particular backend. This particular backend pool, it will send it. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this way you can use a path based routing rule. Here you can see path based, it will come as path based routing. The type is basic one is normal one. Once it is added, the type will be changed to the path based one. I'll show you. Yes. Now if you come back and try to refresh it. You can see the type is path based one. If you want to add a path based rule, you can add it. If you want to use a normal rule, you can add it as a normal rule. You understood now the type, the routing types available,
Yes, sir.
basic one and path based one. Now the rewrites I have already told you. So if you want to customize the incoming headers or outgoing headers, that you can write in the rewrite rule. Let's say I want to add it as a rewrite rule. Rule 1, the routing rules. So VM2 is the first backend pool and this is the second. There are two routing rules available, right? One is for normal one and second one is for another pool. Which one I need to choose? For normal one, if you select, or for all the things I want to apply the same rewrite rule, yes, you can select all the one. We have a two rules, right? One is basic rule, second one is path based routing. Inside the path based routing, I have defined one path that is called test. Click on next. Here you need to add the rewrite rules. Add rewrite rule. The rewrite rule name you need to give and the rule sequence. First, which rule I need to execute. Here I need to add the configuration. Add condition. What header you want to modify. Let's say if the HTTP header or a request header contains this accept. Okay. Let's say some, if headers looks like test or something, what header it is, then what you want to do, you want to modify that outgoing header or you want to modify that response header, you want to modify or you want to route this to the dedicated URL. You need to select that one. If you want to select, or if you want to set, or if you want to delete. These are the two options it is asking. So you need to select that respective one. You need to select that particular one. And you need to select that respective value and click on OK. So what it will do, if the request header contains accept test, then it will delete that request header. No. If the request header is contains accept test, then I want to modify it as accept test 1. How you can do that? Come here. Instead of delete, you can set as test 1. Click on OK. What it is doing? If the request header is accept test, then it is modifying it as accept test 1. Okay, that request headers you can see it under here. You can see if you click on any website, if you go to the developer tools, here you can see an option called headers. Here you can see the headers: accept-ch, cache control, current encoding, content security policy, content type, date, expires. These are the headers you are receiving. The same headers you can see it like cache control. You come here. Here you can see the cache control. You can see the cache control. So these headers, if you want to customize, I don't want to send this private or no cache or no store or must revalidate or max age. I want to send some other one. Yes, you can modify it here. Equal to so and so. Equal to this particular one. Equal to this particular one. Then I will modify this cache control as test 1. Got it? Now if you browse this, you won't see this. Here you will see the test 1 only. You got it? So this way, if you want to update your headers, then you need to add this rewrite rules. Like this, you can add any number of rewrite rules. Here you need to add any number of rewrite rules. You can specify the sequence also. First this rule will be executed and then this rule will be executed. This way you can add any rewrite rules. Now the next important concept is health probe. There is one default health probe configured for the backend setting. So here you need to select the backend protocol, which protocol I need to access the backend, and pick host name from the backend settings. If yes, it will pick it, or else you can define your own host name. That is called test.local. So backend host name, and then port also from the backend settings. In the backend settings, I already defined one port on which port you want to connect. If you want, you can pick from there itself, or you can define your own port also. Okay, you can define your own port also. Now the path, which path I want to access? I want to access test.html. Okay, time interval it is specifying 30 minutes, 30 seconds means every 30 seconds it will try to access this test.html every 30 seconds, and it will wait for 30 seconds to receive the response. If it is not received the response under the 30 seconds, then it will be an issue. Okay, what is meant by this unhealthy thresholds? Let's say first time it tried to hit and it is waited for 30 seconds. Okay, it won't consider it as unhealthy. Second time also it will try. It will wait for 30 seconds. Still it is not receiving. Third time also it will send the response. Third time also it will wait for 30 seconds. Still it is not received. Then it will be an issue. That is called unhealthy threshold. If you specify as 1, that means first time also, in the first attempt also it is not receiving response under 30 seconds, then it will treat it as unhealthy. No, not first time. You can at least try 2 times. Yes, you can define it. Okay, if you are defining probe matching conditions, by defaultly it has certain conditions specified, That is, if the path okay, then it will get receive 200 response code, then it will consider as healthy. No. If I receive 302, then I need to consider it as healthy. If it receiving 404, then I need to consider it as healthy. Yes, that also you can modify it by using this S. You can see the response headers. So response code. You can define any response code. If it matches that response code, then it will consider it as healthy. So before adding it, it will ask you to test it. If you want, you can test it. Click on test. It will try to test it. If it is okay, then only it will add it. Now it will be failed because my server is in stopped state. It is not running to receive the request. It will be failed. Because in the backend pool, I have added VM1. The VM1 is in stopped state. So it won't receive the traffic now. This is about Health Pro. See, it's unhealthy because it is not responding. The time taken by the backend pool is more than what you define. Got it? The backend pool is not healthy.
Yes, sir.
That is the reason it won't send traffic to the respective backend. It must be healthy. When it is healthy, you need to come here and you need to start this virtual machine 1. And in the VNet configuration, you need to allow that is already allowed. Fine. So once it is started, then only it will accept it. Let me save it later also. You can check it the status. I will add one more thing. Add for the second one for the app service. This is app service. Come here, pick host from the backend target. Yes. Pick host from the backend settings. Font yes. The path is this one. And time interval and healthy and everything backend I need to select as this one. This is the available one. Okay, now I test it. So it will by default take the domain name and it will by I have specified path as slash I have defined. I have not configured any page over there, right? That's why I'm accessing the default domain itself. So you can see the health status is healthy. See it, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This way you can add the respect to backends. Okay, so let's hit for this again. So this is done, the VM is done now, accessible. Now I'll try to test this one. Now you can see the VM is up and running and it is able to take test.local/test.html. It is able to access it. Got it? Now both the backends are healthy. How you can see that? You see it under backend health. If you go to the backend health, here you will see that backend status. It's healthy or having an issue. You can see that both the backends are healthy. The test.html under VM and this is the app service name. Okay, so this way you need to configure the respect to backend and respect to one Now, if you try to browse this particular one, you will see that responses. Let's say I want to access, because for this 51.8.21.192 I am using this front end IP for my both listeners, right? For the both listeners. So let's configure my both listeners in my host file. So I want to add it here. So I don't require this test.local. I have how many listeners? Two listeners I have. One is, so IP address I am taking now. Front end IP configuration. IP address is this one, 50.1.8.192. Okay, this is the IP. For this IP, the first website is www.com and second is test. Right. So when I hit www.flipkart.com, where it will goes to? It will goes to this load balancer. Sorry, this application gateway. When I hit test.local, where it will go to? It will goes to this application gateway, because I mapped it here. So if I goes to this application gateway has a dedicated listener to receive that traffic. Okay. Now let's browse it here. http www.flipkart.com. If you want, I can test it. If you really hit flipkart.com, it is going to internet, or it is going to application gateway. See, it is going to application gateway only. So now if I click flipkart.com, and the server, we have a page called test.html, right? The VM1. See it? You got the response?
Yes, sir.
So this is the way you can access your backend from the respective listener. What I said, if you configure this listener flipkart.com, it must goes to the respective VM only. That pool I have added. That's the reason it is going to the VM. It is not going to the app service. Right? So if you click for app service here, http test.local, does it goes? The requirement is it must goes to the app service, right? Because app service as a backend I have added, the listener is this one, test.local is the listener which will receive the traffic, and it will send that request to the backend pool of app service, correct? Now it must send that request to the backend pool, sorry, the app service, but it will not send. Why? I will show you. You can see. Sorry, HTTP, not HTTP. It is redirecting to here. Why? Because if you observe the rules, if you observe this path-based rule, this is specifically created for test.local. What you are saying here? If the path matches images only, then only you can send it to the this backend pool. But here I have not added path as here. Just I am browsing http test.local only. I have not added any path. There is no images here, right? That is the reason it is not routing you to the respective backend, because you have enabled path based one. Now if you do that, images slash 123.jpg. Although this path is not existed on the app service, if you go to the app service configuration, here you don't have that path. You have only one page. If you want, you can configure images and okay. Then I need to, this will be better to go via portal itself. That would be better. Click on it. Go to app development tools. Where is advanced tools? Click on go. Go to the debug console. We need to go to the www root. Here I need to add one folder, right? Plus new folder called images, and inside that folder you need to add the image called so image. You can't add it like this. Fine is 123.html. Okay, I'll edit 123.html as app services from images. Save it. Now I have the path images 123.html. Now if I browse HTML, why it is still routing? Okay, why it is routing? Let me go to the root. Here this is the rule. Okay, images. Okay, now you need to go to here. I'll do one more thing. I'll add one more rule. Okay, not required, not required. This is fine. Let me verify the health probe for this app service. Path I can give as images /123.html only, because I have added this page. Okay, it's fine. It's accessible now. Saved it. Now if I go here, http test.local /images /123.html. I think it's cached somewhere. Let me browse on direct app service itself. Yeah, getting this same, it has to come. By default it is taking test.local. It must be cached. No issue, it has to come. Page is cached, that's why it is not accepting it. I need to clear the, okay. Let me private window. Somehow it is directing. Need to troubleshoot it. Go to the backend health first. Okay, it must be it must be 200. Now the response port is 301, so you don't need to come this 301. It must be 200. So there is an issue. There is an issue. The backend settings. Yeah. Because it will not route that respect to backend or anything to app service until and unless if the path contains images, right? That's the reason. Okay, now I'll go to the backend health. Done. So we have success status code, we have received both. Both are healthy. Now let me try. No, again why it is 300. Fine, let it be. I'll stop this for now. I'll keep this in stopped state. We'll troubleshoot this tomorrow, and it must be 200 and it must be accessible. Okay,
Okay, sir.
then
Okay,
only
sir.
we'll go to another one. Let's troubleshoot with me. Okay, let's troubleshoot together tomorrow. I'll stop this one. Okay.